Well, coming up later this afternoon, the key doubleheader game will match the Raiders in Los Angeles against the New York Giants. And you know, when the Raiders drafted Napoleon McCallum, the All-American running back from Navy, they were really looking to the future, 5 years down the road. But because of a surprise decision by the Navy, the Raiders and McCallum can proclaim, in the immortal words of George Allen, that the future is now. So we sent Ann Butler out to California to talk to the young naval officer who has been making waves.
Like many other Naval Academy graduates, by August, Napoleon McCallum had already adjusted to a life aboard ship. In this case, the USS Peleliu here at the Naval Yard at Long Beach. So when the call came that gave McCallum the okay to play pro football while serving his country at the same time, he knew it was an opportunity he just couldn't pass up.
I was excited, you know, and I was very happy that they had reached a decision. It's something that I had hoped for, and it's something that I knew was possible, and it just had to be put in writing that I could do it.
The controversial decision to let McCallum play was made here, and the man who changed the policy was quick to defend his actions.
We think this sends a really good message to the fleet that this is the kind of people we attract, but if he can do it, we think that's great, and it's an inspiration to young people in the Navy and outside the Navy.
I see no objection to it. In fact, the Navy doesn't object to anybody, I don't believe, having part-time work if it doesn't interfere with their military duties.
Glenn Davis was an All-American at Army, but Davis had to serve 3 years before he played pro football. Pete Dawkins won the Heisman Trophy at Army, but he served in Vietnam and never played again. And the most celebrated example, Roger Staubach, who did go on to a brilliant career in the NFL, but after he completed his Navy hitch.
There's the precedent-setting aspect of opening a possible Pandora's box as far as others in other service academies.
We attended a VFW meeting in Long Beach where opinion was evenly divided, and those veterans who felt the Navy made a mistake raised questions that weren't easy to answer.
I understand this is a fantastic opportunity for the man, but I feel his obligation comes first.
What would happen if Napoleon McCallum got hurt? Who's going to take care of him? The taxpayer's going to take care of him because he's still in the Navy. And he's going to be living off the taxpayers forever.
I don't see anything wrong with doing both. You know, if you want to exert yourself and put forth that little extra effort to do something that you want to do, I feel that you should be allowed to do it.
The original Napoleon once said, "A great army travels on its stomach." This Napoleon's main duty is supervising food services for 600 sailors.
Napoleon McCallum is a very flexible in every indication, not only a very good football player, as we've seen, but he's showing himself to be a very good naval officer.
But there still remains the disturbing question of precedent, that allowing Ensign McCallum to play now sends the wrong message to future midshipmen and cadets. Napoleon knows that he's trying to have it both ways, yet he also knows the only way to answer his critics is with performance.
Kind of put to rest some of people's feelings and to show them that I'm really working, but also to do well and do my best while I'm out on the field with the Raiders and just play real good, hard, tough football.
Well, the Raiders are going to be playing a little bit later this afternoon. Irv Cross is out in Los Angeles. Irv, the Raiders had to be prepared for this, though. Weren't they thinking they might get a favorable decision?
Well, no, they weren't prepared for it, Brett. And it's sort of good news, bad news in this situation. The good news is that McCallum has been able to meet his entire military obligation and still play pro football on the weekend. The bad news is that he's suffering from a slight hamstring pull today, and there's some questions of how much he might see as a kick returner today. And the Raiders were so surprised that the Navy made him available, they didn't even include him in the 1986 media guide.
All right, Irv. Kenny, what about trying to be a part-time pro football player?
Part-time for him, I don't think will be a lot of trouble. I think he'll be regulated too, like we've seen, as a returner, kickoff return, punt return, which is fairly simple to pick up. It's just blocking schemes, but that's probably the reason you won't see him fit into the offense, pass receiving, running the ball. So he's an intelligent young man. I really don't think it'll be a problem for him.
Well, there's another athlete at the Naval Academy, a basketball player by the name of David Robinson.
And a great athlete, and he was involved in this thing, Brent. The Raiders felt, with David Robinson sitting there, ready to be a senior, could be eligible for the NBA draft, that if the ruling went against McCallum, that Robinson might say, hey, I'm going to resign my commission. I'm not going to play. I'm going to go in the NBA. And this worked in McCallum's favor.
All right, thank you. And now let's send you back to the game you're enjoying here on CBS.
Charlie Brown.